Hello and good evening. Welcome back in, everybody. We are live once again with Torque Racing in Assetto Corso here for the console edition. And joining Torque Racing here from the Hungarian Ring in beautiful Hungary. And a very technical, very tricky circuit to say the least, especially in the GT cars. See this track far more utilized in Formula One, especially outside of Europe. You don't really see this track utilized for much other than special events here in the States. But one of the more tricky circuits, a lot of technical corners, some elevation change as well, and a few fast corners and a lot of off camber in a very tricky middle sector from about turn 5 through 9, exit of turn 5 all the way through turn 9, the trickiest portion of the entire circuit. And with that, let's get underway here for some qualifying. And followed us last week here with Torque Racing. You're going to be familiar with the new qualifying format where the AM and Pro-Am guys get to go out first for about 8 minutes, and then the final 8 minutes will be the Pro drivers. And for those of you that may be new here or unfamiliar with how things work, that driver placard there with the number to the right of the driver name on the leaderboard in the lower left indicates what class they fall under for their license. White is your Pro, silver is your Pro-Am, and the red is your Amateur. Yo, Corby, welcome in. Thank you for the sub, as always. Much appreciate you, and happy to have you back. Things just getting underway here, and some track details, of course. So the Hungarian Ring, 14 turns in total here, just a little over 2.72 miles for a single lap. That's just over 4.38 kilometers. And then one little note here as well, and actually I'm going to double check and see if anything has changed here real quick, because this was passed off to me as we were getting ready to start. If I can find it, and it looks like, yes indeed. So Kick and Joe Mama and Bogey Eyed Flea have been promoted and are no longer part of the Pro-Am series of drivers. They are now in the Pro series. That should be reflected by next week. So just a server update that needs to take place. But a note as well for that. Corby, thank you for that. I keep forgetting, you haven't really caught many of my streams. Yes, indeed. That is why I do this, actually. And I enjoy it. But with that, we are already down to 13 minutes of qualifying here still to go, coming up on that 13th minute in about 4 seconds time. And taking a look and seeing who is on circuit here, it looks like Oil Slick still showing as number 1. We haven't had our first flying lap put in, and it looks like Velo Spams is going to lead us to that threshold here. However, it looks like we do have an invalidated lap potentially. See that lap time in the top left corner has turned red and did not reset at the line. So we will see what happens here when he crosses the line. Oh, nice. I would love to go to Coda. Unfortunately, not in my budget. Also, a little bit of a trek for me. Miami is significantly closer. And for those of you that are trickling in here for this stream, just a stream update. Well, just as a precaution, thunderstorms are rolling through, so chance I may lose power briefly, but as long as it's momentary, I should be back live within about 5 minutes, if it happens. So it does look like Velo Spams does set a preliminary lap time here, did take over preliminary pole with a 1:47.585. That did get beat out already, so let's take a look and see who took that over, and that is going to be Matty Ice. Let's see if we can track down Matty here. Definitely kudos not with the greatest programming here, but Matty Ice with a 1:46.062 currently, the fastest of the non-pro drivers tonight so far. And we are coming up until just under the last final 2.5 minutes for the AM and Pro-Am drive. Yeah, see, Corby, You should look at you should look into the 24 hours of Daytona. The Rolex 24, you can get the 2-day pass with infield and garage access for under $100. We've seen a few drivers with the Porsches here every once in a while. I don't know the last time we actually saw someone on the podium though. Dominating has been the Ford Mustang. As you see that, we have Senna 509 in the number 12 Porsche here, currently 6th in qualifying. Set to pit lane. Yeah, that's one of the reasons I actually really prefer going to Daytona. That, and it's only like a 2-hour drive for me. It's a really fun experience to see in person. You don't even have to say the full 24. I've yet to say the full 20, or even leave and return, which you can do. But yeah, you show up to the track about 2 hours before green flag. There's some stuff you can do both inside and outside the track. And then once the race starts, you can go to the infield, go into the garage area. There's even sometimes where the teams will come out and chat with fans and stuff like that while the event's going on if they're between pit stops. So Cool Whip, with an invalid on his last lap here, remains all the way at the rear of the grid currently. A 1:45.966 would have been his lap time had it counted. So we'll see if he can improve it all here. We've seen some success with the AMG. Kickin' Joe Mama's actually been in the AMG. He's in the pro class now after a podium finish last week at Indy here with Torque. And Azteca will set his personal best lap here in qualifying on 1:48.190. Good enough for 8th place currently. And we are coming up to the final 60 seconds for the AM and Pro Am drivers. I'll have to send you some videos from Daytona as well, Corby. I've been to that one, twice now. I was supposed to go last year, but ended up getting sick weekend of it, so I'm staying home, fortunately. I guess technically this year. And Bila Grill has found his way into 3rd place now with a 1:46.527 at the moment. So we'll see if he can get any improvement here. He's currently down on his lap just by under a 10th now, coming into turn number 13. Starting to pick that pace up in the final few seconds for the AM and Pro-Am drivers here. Now through turn 14, he's fallen to 4th though. He is very close with his lap time, and he will see a little bit of improvement here to a 1:46.527, but it looks like it's not going to count as he will cross the line too late. Oh, and he's going to stop on the speedway there, right on the track racing surface, and gets T-boned. And now your pro drivers will head out for the final 8 minutes of qualifying here. And looks like Sensei Tiga having some difficulties here. That's at the exit of turn 4. Actually, that was not Sensei Tiga. Tiga did have some troubles, though. That is the 92 of Matty Ice, who had some troubles at the exit of turn 4, leading into turn 5, was sideways on the outside apex of the corner. But he does finally get reset to pit lane, so he does finish the Am and Pro-Am qualifying with pole position for that grouping. Now we see who will take pole overall of the race here. The Cool Whip still bringing his BMW number 4 machine back into pit lane as he will now go through turn 12. And it looks like Cool Whip fails to return to pit lane here, so I'm not sure what is happening. Hopefully he will come in, because these laps will not count for him any longer. And I take that back. It did count. He went from 22nd to 4th there. in an interesting turn of events. So a late qualifying lap for Cool sees him improve to a 146.326. And now we wait for our pro drivers to start getting those flying laps in here. The first drivers already on their laps for the first time. It's Finley and the number 6 McLaren will lead us through turn 2. Depending on who you ask, that may actually be turn 3. Based on the track map that I was able to find, though, that is classified as turn 2. And it's Finley out of the hairpin turn 5 into the tricky rhythm section here. A very off camber entry to turn 6 and 7. Oh, and a wide exit sees him invalidate the lap here. One of the things I was mentioning before qualifying got underway, one of the trickier parts of this entire circuit, especially for the GT cars, just because they don't have the same grip that you would see with an F1 car here at this track. Into turn 12 now, so we'll see what he can do on his preliminary lap time here and what the game decides to rule it as. Like Snakebite 63 and the 69 Ferrari trailing just behind, followed by Oil Slick in the 661 BMW. And it will give him the lap time, but it will not give him a position with a 145.927. Remains in rear of the grid in 22nd because of the invalidated lap. Let's take a look back up front here real quick as Oil Slick in a turn of events has taken preliminary pole at the moment and a 144.667 for the 661 BMW. And hopefully, after a rough start to the new season here for Torque Racing, finishing outside of the top 5, both the first 2 rounds, and finishing outside the top 10 in the first round, hopefully we can see Oil Slick find some improvement. He has been bumped off preliminary pole by Chug-a-Lug now, who goes a 144.537. We're down to under 3.5 minutes to go here in qualifying. Let's see if we can find the number 6 here. There he is. It's Finley coming up to turn 12 once again. Looks like he's found a little bit of pace here. 1.1 second now on his previous lap time. Climbing to 1.4 seconds out of turn 13. One more corner to go, losing a little bit of time now. Looks like he's going to find some improvement here. Jumps from 21st to 3rd now with a 144.935. So the number 6 finds a clean lap here and some pace, finding himself inside the top 3 currently. See where Bubblin' Panda is here in the 71 Mustang after back-to-back solid outings, a win in Bathurst and a podium in Indianapolis. Bubblin' Panda will come across the line, jumping from 4th rather, from 20th with a 144.772. So this could be a tricky circuit for the Mustang here. You've seen a really good outing from Bubblin' Panda so far. Last few races of last season, he finished off the podium out of the final 4 races. And joining the pro class this week for the first time, Bogey-Eyed Flea in the 27 Ferrari currently finds himself in 7th place overall, 145.335. '69 Ferrari of Snakebite having some troubles getting a clean lap in here. He is at 1:44.920. It's his best projected lap. However, he has not done a clean lap here, it looks like. He'll come through turn 14. He's about 1.6 seconds up on his lap time, finding a little bit more pace out of turn 14. That was a 1:44.475, so he finds some improvement, but stays in 20th because of the dirty lap. So we'll see if he can find a clean lap here. Final 40 seconds of qualifying now. It's Finley holding on to P5 at the moment. Number 6 McLaren. He's improved to a 1:44.655. And Bubbling Panda has taken over preliminary pole. 1:44.072 in that 71 Mustang. So finding some pace here on what will likely be his final lap in qualifying. We are now down to the final 10 seconds as I speak. And interestingly enough, let's double check here real quick as qualifying is about to close out. Don't believe. No, Maxi Luca is in the session after winning and a dominating performance last week, Indianapolis. We'll see if he can improve it all here. Currently sits in P21. Not sure if he's going to get a lap time on the board here. It looks like Snakebite, Bongit, and Maxi Luca may not get onto the qualifying boards. 69 of Snakebite coming up to turn 13 here. Unfortunately, can't see his lap time here. Qualifying technically has ended. We're going to have to rely on the timetable here as he comes to the line out of turn 14 here in just a second. And it looks like he does get a clean lap in, and we'll start in P4 at the moment. And Maxi Luca get a lap time in here. We are about 55 seconds to go before session will officially close out. Or once the last driver is across the line, and it looks like Maxi Luca having some connectivity issues here. And that will do it for qualifying. Maxi Luca and Bongit will not get a lap time in qualifying. We will take a short 3-minute break unless you're a subscriber at Twitch Turbo. Then you won't get the ad, but we'll be back here to discuss what's coming up here before the formation lap. And for those of you that are Twitch Turbo or subscribers to the channel, thank you for the support as always, for hanging out with me here between the ad breaks. We try to limit ad breaks here on the channel, especially with doing the commentary streams. But with that, we are seeing quite an interesting turn of events here. Bubbling Panda will start on pole position. Chug-a-Lug will start second. Oil Slick third. HTI Danger fourth. And Snakebite in fifth. Meanwhile, for the first race of the pro class for Bogey-Eyed Flea, he finds himself in seventh. Meanwhile, second promotion here of the week, Kickin' Joe Mama finds himself all the way in 22nd at the rear of the grid with a late join. No qualifying lap time for Kickin' Joe Mama here. That could hurt his chances of even getting inside the top 10 here. Very tight and technical circuit through a number of these corners. Overtaking is going to be a bit of a premium in spots. However, unlike the F1 races here, we may not see limited overtaking that we see, whereas primarily at the end of the front straight leading into turn 1, and then outside of turn 1 leading to turn 2. Otherwise, for the most part, most overtaking with F1 cars doesn't occur anymore, unless someone's had an incident. With the GT cars, though, they're a little bit more evenly matched, and we could see some overtaking. The biggest areas to watch, obviously, that front straight out of turn 14 into turn 1, leading down the straight from turn 3 to turn 4. And then it is possible we may see some overtaking between turns 11 and 12 on that short straight. JC, welcome in. Thank you for the raid. For those of you just joining, welcome in here. We are about to get underway for a formation lap before 45 minutes into the Corso at
30 seconds.
the Hungarian ring. Got our 30-second warning here. We'll wait to go trackside until after the first lap has got underway. Just makes it easier to see things happening in real time if there's an incident from this screen.
10 seconds.
And now we wait as our formation lap will get underway momentarily. Wait for Bubbling Panda to lead us across. Go one time around for a double file start here. Bubbling Panda leads the grid here tonight from the Hungarian ring. Things just getting started here. Things will get very heated very quickly here, to say the least. Turn 1 is going to be a very pivotal on the opening lap. I would not be surprised if we see some troubles here from a number of drivers. And we've had some troubles with a number of drivers here, to say the least, under race start conditions. Things have started to improve. Bathurst was an absolute mess. We had a car get airborne and flip. Indy was a bit better. We had cars in the wall, though. Hopefully here at the Hungarian ring, we can get a clean turn 1 to start the race. And if you are just trickling in, welcome in, of course. And just as a heads up for anybody watching, I do have some thunderstorms rolling through the area where I'm at, so chance I may lose power. If I do, should hopefully be back within about 5 or so minutes. Power doesn't come back right away. That's if it happens. And now the grid heading into turn 4 on the formation lap. About a quarter of the way through the formation lap here. It's going to feel a little bit long with just kind of how windy this circuit is. How slow these cars are going to have to go in order to maintain the formation lap speeds. Looks like we may have a few drivers with some connectivity issues tonight, unfortunately. Looks like Atomic Hippo is going to be starting from pit lane. Maxi Luca, however, is one of the drivers having some difficulties here. You can see he keeps kind of jittering around. And now we get ready to come to the green flag. Drivers coming out of turn 14 as we speak. Oops, I was mistaken. Drivers were coming up to turn 11, I suppose. Turn 4. We are side by side, ready to go green.
Green light, give it all you can.
And we are underway for 45 minutes here in the Hungarian ring, and Chug-a-Lug jumping out front ahead of the 71. Let's take a look and see how we do in turn 1. We are 3 wide, and we've got contact. Oil slick on the inside with Bubbling Pandas. I bubble my words here. Snakebite having some success here in the 69 Ferrari. Stuck a 509 in the Nissan right behind, and it looks like we get through turn 1 relatively clean. All things considered, turn 2 remains clean at the moment. Oh, and as I say that, Matty Ice in the 92 has some troubles. Wait for the leaderboard to update here. That was one of the BMWs. That was the 824, it looks like. Who is Bongit in the Porsche, who has some troubles now. Out of turn 3, things starting to calm down, though. And it looks like Chug-a-Lug has found his way out front in the number 3 BMW to get things started here. overtaking your pole sitter, Bubble and Panda, before turn 1. Panda and Oil Slick have a little bit of contact at turn 1, and things calm down for them. Meanwhile, behind them, Chaos is starting to calm down here. Everybody's starting to file into line on the end of the opening lap. And Maxi Lucas still having some connectivity issues here and just blinking all over the place. That is going to be a challenge for anyone trying to overtake him. It's going to present challenges for himself, trying to navigate traffic as well. Looks like he's going to come into pit lane, so we'll see if he's opting for an early pit stop or if this is going to be the end of his race here. We started this race with 22 drivers. Long it in the 824 Porsche, who gets wrapped up in the early incident, staying out. Atomic Hippo in the 999 Porsche now comes around at turn 14 after starting on pit lane. Azteca in the 169 Mustang finds himself in 19th here at the end of the opening lap. Meanwhile, back up front, Chug-a-Lug continues to lead in the number 3. Bubble and Panda in second, looking to the inside at turn 5. Not enough momentum. Now he's going to chase after him going into turn number 6 and 7. Now that things are starting to calm down, we will go back to trackside here. If it's your first time joining us here for a race and you're wondering what is the yellow or orange kind of colored number 1 to the right of the driver numbers, that is a mandatory pit stop. All drivers must make at least one stop here. I can't speak to that one, X. I don't really do anything other than commentate for Torque, so Oil Slick is your man to discuss that one. Oh, and now some troubles for the 34 of Sucka 509. He's backwards here at turn 13. You can see some heavy front end damage there. And he's going to let the 999 of Atomic Hippo go through. So Sucka 509 finds himself all the way back in 21st now, after running kind of midfield. And he's going to opt to stay out. I can't imagine the car is handling super well, judging by the contact and a late dive back into pit lane. I think that's going to be the right choice for him here. Very early in the race. We have still 40.5 minutes still to go. Oh, and now some more mayhem out of turn 2 and 3 here. Is the 720 of Yellow Spams. 169 of Azteca, who goes off circuit there for a brief moment and now gets spun on his own accord. And trying to get back righted here as Bongit will go through. And he gets back underway here. We'll try and get a better camera angle, and that nose is crunched in heavily. So we may see an early pit stop from Azteca as well, as we now come up on the first 5 minutes elapsed of the race. Back up front, though, we're going to take a look and see how things are looking for our leaders. Oil Slick remains in 3rd place, currently trailing behind Bubble and Panda. Chug-a-Lug still out front after taking the early lead. HCI Danger and Snakebite, though, right in tow with Oil Slick. So your top 5 all within about 1.5 seconds to 2 seconds of each other. And here comes Chug-a-Lug out of turn 1. Got about 0.8 seconds on Bubble and Panda. Just over 2.5 seconds back to Snakebite now. Looks like we have another driver having some connectivity issues as well. However, Chug-a-Lug continues to lead this one after that early launch out front. Fastest lap of the race so far as well with a 1:44.132. And now Oil Slick goes out wide at the exit of turn 4. Maintains third position, though, at the moment. HTI Danger looking to take advantage. Danger has had a pretty solid outing here so far. Not the greatest finish results, but a very solid starting position and solid race. Unfortunately, has gotten wrapped up in a couple incidents throughout the season. And Maxi Luca still continuing to have a lot of connectivity issues here. You can see his 65 indicator coming down the front straightaway, just blinking all over the place, back and forth to pit lane. And now we start another lap here. 37 minutes still to go. 38 in the down under 38 left on the clock. Oh, and Danger's looking to the inside here. Tries for a switchback on Oil Slick, but doesn't have the momentum. Now he's looking to the inside, coming into turn 2. Not enough momentum to get the nose inside, though. But Oil Slick will continue to hold on to P3 here. It looks like maybe slowing the pace just a little bit as Snakebite is starting to close the gap behind. Meanwhile, back up front, Chug-a-Lug now with a 1.3 second lead. Into that tricky second sector through turn 6 and 7 chicane. That gap now 1.6 seconds. You can see the BMW is really excelling compared to the Mustang through that section right now. Looks like Maxi Luca has officially returned back to pit lane once again. He is going to go a lap down here once again because of another pit stop. Meanwhile, leaders continue to pull away here. That gap for Chug-a-Lug to Bubble and Panda, 1.7 seconds coming into the braking zone of turn number 1. Now growing to 1.9 seconds at the exit. HTI Danger here in 4th place. That 78 still chasing after Oil Slick, the gap half a second. Then just over 1 second back to Snakebite in P5. Snakebite with about a second and a half, roughly almost 2 seconds, to It's Finley now behind him. It's Finley has a solid 4.5 seconds to Sensei Tiga in 7th. So your top 5 are really starting to pull away from everybody else here. Bubble and Panda not going into the distance without a fight here for Chug-a-Lug. So Chug-a-Lug still trying to maintain his pace. Panda trying to reel him in here. Now that the opening lap chaos has ensued and come to a close, looks like the rest of the field is really starting to calm down once again. Do still see a few small groupings of cars here outside of the top 5. And mostly appears to be staying clean. It appears as though the 65 of Maxi Luca has decided to hang it up here. Fortunately, with the connectivity issues, I can't say I blame him. And HTI Danger now looking to the inside on Oil Slick at turn 1, so the 78 Mustang will go through and moves into the top 3 here. So your top 4 now go as BMW, Ford, BMW. Just a little dust kick up there, someone getting a tire off, and it looks like Snakebite having a little troubles there in the background. He manages to save it. And now it looks like the 55 and the 4 have gotten together here, possibly. And CCW Aviator in 15th in that 55 machine. And you can see some heavy nose damage here for him. Sucka 509 in 21st, a lap behind him, has now gone through. Oh, and Aviator pulls off coming into turn 5 here. You may see, in fact, we do see a tow back Cool Whip in the number 4 machine. Has towed back to pit lane, so both drivers with a unscheduled pit stop will not count towards their mandatory pit stops here. Meanwhile, Chugalug continues to lead. Gap to Bubble and Panda now at the end of lap 7 is 1.9 seconds. Now the big question for your top 5 becomes, who has decided to underfuel to get a little bit of an advantage here and maybe take a slightly longer pit stop to go the distance on the mandatory, and who has overweighted the fuel to try and go further and get a better grip of tire life in the final closing laps? I'm wondering if that's what we see with Chugalug. We could see Chugalug come in for an earlier pit stop than Bubble and Panda. Judging by that gap, it's hard to say for sure, but I would say it's a safe bet to say Chugalug may have underfueled here with an attempt to try and jump out front, which he does succeed at. But now, is it going to pay off in the long run? The gap just now 2.1 seconds here. HT had danger trying to chase after Bubble and Panda with Oil Slick still all over the back bumper here. Coming into turn 12 here on lap 8. It looks like Oil Slick with a bit of a run here, and Danger's going to duck into pit lane, I believe, here. And an interesting turn of events. So the 78 Mustang is going to come in for a bit of an early pit stop. We aren't even quite a full 15 minutes into the 45 minutes, so not quite halfway. Bubble and Panda still finding himself in second now with a comfortable gap to Oil Slick, 3.9 seconds in third place. Panda still with his hands full and work cut out. Chugalug ahead of him. Meanwhile, back in P17, Azteca in that 169, having some troubles here still, holding on to the position, but he's got Atomic Hippo in the 999 Porsche. See the front end damage still visible for Azteca, as the 69 will get a drive-through penalty for track limits. That is Snakebite in 4th place in that Ferrari. Trying to chase down Oil Slick ahead and pushing just a little too hard. Will find himself with a drive-through penalty. Has to be served within 3 laps, so he does have a bit of time. Cannot service the vehicle to count towards serving the penalty. Must just drive straight through pit lane at pit lane road speed. Looks like he is going to stay out for one more lap here at least, as he will continue to chase after Oil Slick ahead. The gap half a second out of turn 14. 2 laps remaining to service that penalty now. Gap now grows by 5/10 here to a full second. as Oil Slick had a much better line through turn 1 than Snakebite. Meanwhile, in the midfield here, Senna 509 in the number 12 Porsche holds on to P11. Comacopa in 12th place, 7/10 behind him. Matty Ice 1.5 seconds behind Senna. Little grouping here, and FHM J-Dog in the 85 Mercedes just ahead of Senna. Every one of them still with the mandatory pit stop left on the books. And checking in with the 824 Porsche of Bonget as he comes out of turn number 3 here. He's in 15th, about 5 seconds behind Velo Spams. Next car behind him is Sucka 509, scored in 19th, a lap behind at the moment. No major concern behind him by any means. Comacopa, meanwhile, ahead, now leads ahead of Matty Ice in 12th and 13th by 0.4 of a second. It's going to start getting a little bit tricky here for, it looks like 12th. Like a little bit of a mix-up with the leaderboard here. There we go. Things starting to sort themselves out. FHM, J-Dog, Senna, Comacopa, Matty Ice, all starting to battle here, but it looks like we've got someone coming into pit lane. That is FHM J-Dog, who has come in for his mandatory pit stop. It looks like Snakebite has serviced the drive-through, and it gets cleared, so he will return to the circuit. Chuggalug continues to lead here in that number 3 BMW, 3 seconds now ahead of Bubble and Panda. HTI Danger, after servicing his mandatory, finds himself all the way back at 18th out of 21 currently. Bubble and Panda holding on to second. Kind of in no man's land here, 3.4 seconds behind Chuggalug and 4.5 seconds ahead of Oil Slick. And the 98 Mustang of Bila Grill finding himself in 8th currently, 3.5 seconds behind Kick and Joe Mama, who's in 7th, and 7.5 seconds ahead of Senna 509 and P9 at the moment. A little bit of a mix of gap times here across the grid. Matty Ice trying to chase down Comacopa here still. Now through turn 13, Matty Ice trying to find some momentum. Looks like Comacopa is going to come in for a pit stop here. Actually, that may have been Senna. Indeed, it was Senna 509 who goes in for a pit stop. If I did misspeak there, my apologies. Matty Ice continuing to chase after Comacopa going into turn 1. We'll go on board here. Number 4, gonna get a drive-through for pit limits now. Out the front windshield of Matty Ice's car here in the 92 Lexus, chasing after that 72 Porsche. Coming up to turn 5 as we speak. Meanwhile, back in 6th place, now moving up a position from where he started, 27 of Bogey-Eyed Flea, finding himself in P6 as Sucka 509 right behind him now gets a drive-through penalty for track limits in 19th. So the 34's woes continue here. Now a bit wide out of turn 14, coming to the line. 2 laps to service that penalty in. Meanwhile, the number 4 of Cool Whip, who was involved in that lap 1 turn 2 incident, finding himself in P20 right now. Still has to service the drive-through as well. 2 active penalties currently go to Cool Whip and Sucka 509, 19th and 20th respectively. And we are coming up on halfway through this one. 22 minutes and 40 seconds still to go. There's the halfway to go at the 22.5-minute mark. Chugalug continues to lead here, but he is coming in for his mandatory pit stop. And now the 92 is having some troubles here. That's Matty Ice in that Lexus. He has already dropped to P12 now. Don't see any major visible damage to the 92. Definitely some scuff marks on the right side. And looks like Matty Ice able to get away from whatever happened there relatively cleanly. Maybe some minor scuff marks on the front nose and hood, potentially. But back underway nonetheless in 12th place. That right side is definitely scraped up. Looks like Matty Ice is going to bring in the 92 Lexus for a pit stop as the number 4 gets the drive-thru cleared, as does the 34. Cool Whip get his penalty cleared, as does Sucka 509. Meanwhile, in P15, the Atomic Hippo, who started from pit lane, he's managed to climb up the grid here slowly. He has his work cut out still. One mandatory pit stop to go for him still, so not out of the woods just yet. Definitely chipping away at everybody ahead of him. Looks like he may be going a tad too long here. Pit stops with these cars in this series are about 40 to 45 seconds in total from the time the car stops to the time the car leaves. However, that also depends on what they service the vehicle for. If it's just fuel and tires, it could take a little bit longer. If it's just tires, a little bit shorter. Ooh, and maybe a little oversteer coming out of the turn 2 hairpin. Possibly just a little too much acceleration there. The back end trying to step out on him, but holds onto it nicely. Hello, Spam's now back underway after serving his mandatory pit stop. It's Finley in the number 6 McLaren having some troubles here at turn 6 and 7. Cuts through the chicane. No penalty awarded there. And looks like maybe having some troubles with momentum. Meanwhile, Sensei Tiga, 323 McLaren, now chasing down Atomic Hippo in 9th place. McLaren of Sensei Tiga, fresh out of pit lane. He's going to be favored for grip. A little bit of a slide there at turn 12, though. He holds on and will continue to chase after Atomic Hippo. The gap now 1 second coming out of turn 13. Like Atomic Hippo is going to stay out for at least one more lap as we come up to 19 minutes to go. Kickin' Joe Mama, after starting towards the rear of the grid here due to no qualifying time, finds himself inside the top 10 and 9th at the moment. He's already serviced his mandatory pit stop, so he's good to go the distance. And now it looks like the 69 having some trouble. Snakebite here. Just after turn 9. So after the double chicanes in sector 2. He's all the way in 17th, though. So after running in the top 5 for a good portion of the opening stint, now finding himself in the lower half of the back of the field. Possibly plagued with some performance issues here relating to the drive-through penalty and just some frustration. Senna 509 holding on in P12 or P13 in the 12 Porsche at the moment. And Oil Slick is your current race leader after the mandatory pit stop for Chug-a-Lug. And it looks like Azteca has gone around in the 169 at turn 13. And he's going to tow back to pit lane. Interestingly enough, he was able to get the car going. That probably would have been quicker just to drive the car back into pit lane rather than tow back. But now he's going to be stationary for an extended period while the car gets serviced. And Oil Slick is coming into pit lane for his mandatory pit stop now. Your race leader is back in pit lane here. Now we'll watch the leaderboard as Oil Slick will come up to the box here in just a second. And the 34 now gets a drive-through for track limits. Our 4th penalty of the race so far. Sucka 509 in the 34 Nissan. Chug-a-Lug, though, in the number 3 BMW out of turn 13. Coming up to turn 14 here. Should be enough of a run that he can take back race lead as Oil Slick is still in pit lane. And the 999 is going to get a 30-second stop and go. That is for speeding on pit lane. And standby chat, we're going to go comms free for just a few moments here. Chat, my apologies for the calm silence there. We are back live here with commentary. Chugalug has found his way back out front, though, after Oil Slick's pit stop about 8 minutes ago. Bubble and Panda holding on to P2 now, 6/10 behind, so the battle for the lead finding a little bit of steam here late in this one. 7.5 minutes still to go. And taking a look here, looks like we've had another retirement, unfortunately. And as Cool Whip is now scored in final position on the grid. Ooh, and then in 6th place, the Bogey-Eyed Flea having a little bit of trouble there in the background, coming out of turn 11, it looked like. Oh, and Bogey-Eyed Flea goes off at turn 1. That is heavy damage to the 27 Ferrari here late. You may see him tow back to pit lane for a quick repair. And he's already dropped 2 positions to 8th, and in fact does reset. So now in 9th here, this is going to hurt his chances for a top 10. 6.5 minutes and counting to go here, as we are almost to 6 minutes now. Meanwhile, in the 69 Ferrari, Snakebite holding on to 16th. He's trying to claw his way back late in this one after the earlier incidents and the penalties. DeVello Spams is going to come back into pit lane here in the 720 McLaren for a late pit stop. It's Finley now just over 6.5 seconds behind Oil Slick in 3rd. So Finley trying to find his way onto a podium here. Sensei Tiga finding his way into 6th place now, 10 seconds behind HDI Danger, with Kick and Joe Mama half a second behind. They exit turn 11. Jim J-Dog finding himself in the 85 Mercedes in 9th place, a second ahead of Comacopa. And the number 4 gets a late drive-through, so Cool Whip in 19th will get another penalty here. And Oil Slick now 16 seconds behind Bubble and Panda in 2nd place, and just over 7 seconds ahead of It's Finley, who's in 4th. Aside from Chugalug and Bubble and Panda, their podium may pretty much be decided between these 3, unless Chugalug and Panda make contact here in the final 4.5 minutes. And the 720 is going to get a 30-second stop and go for speeding in pit lane, and that's going to be huge here at this stage with how late it is in the race. And we are coming up on the final 4 minutes here in about 10 seconds time. And now the 33 gets a drive-through for track limits. So more penalties coming out here in the final 5 minutes of this race than we've seen in quite some time. The gap from 1st to 2nd now 9 tenths. And Cool Whip will clear the penalty and return to the track now in 18th. We've had another retirement on the track. We are down to 18 drivers remaining out of 22 that started. Taking a look at HTI Danger here in 5th place in that 78. 5 seconds behind It's Finley and 18 seconds ahead of Sensei Tiga. It actually looks like the Timing updating in real time here as we speak was down to about 16 seconds. And continues to drop now at 10.5 seconds. Villagril holding on to P7 in the 98 Mustang here, coming down to the final 2.5 minutes now. Matty Ice and Snakebite now battling for 13th here as the drive-through for the 33 gets cleared. Link, welcome into chat. Happy to have you here as always. Oh, believe me, sir, I am well hydrated for this one. Leaders exiting turn 14, the gap 1.3 seconds, and we now have 2 minutes to go. We will have 2 more laps. White flag next time by here. I didn't even realize there were still leagues going in 24, if I'm honest, Link. I'm not surprised, but I just honestly didn't know. I thought everybody else had kind of hung it up for 24. Matty Ice and Snakebite continuing to battle here out of turn 2 into turn 3. Oh, Matty Ice very high on that curb. Easy to upset the car, but holds it nicely. Snakebite will take the position, though. We have 65 seconds to go here. Find Chug-a-Lug, our leader here. There he is. 7/10 ahead of Bubble and Panda. And now coming up to turn 12. There is 40 seconds left on the clock. This will be the final lap next time by at the line. Oh, got it. Okay. About 3 races to go. Out of turn 14 one more time here. There it is. Final lap now underway for Chug-a-Lug and Bubble and Panda. Bubble and Panda lapping about a 10th faster on the last lap. It is going to be now or never. Bongit is about 6.5 seconds ahead and closing for Chug-a-Lug. There could be the possibility of some lap traffic here late. That gap now under 6 seconds and closing. Gap between Chug-a-Lug and Bubble and Panda now 8/10. And Panda really trying to stay on top of his A game here on the final lap. You can see staying right between about 7 and 8/10 there until the exit of turn 11. Now he's back to a second behind. Chug-a-Lug looks to be in the clear as long as he can stay consistent here and keep it clean. Just 2 more corners to go as he comes into turn 13 now. Gap 1.1 second and closing, though. And for the final time, Chug-a-Lug and Bubble and Panda will come through turn 14. And it is going to be the number 3 BMW of Chug-a-Lug at the line over the 71 Mustang of Bubble and Panda. Meanwhile, in third out of turn 14 will be the number 661 BMW of Oil Slick, and it's Finley will come across the line in P4 behind him. And in 5th place, rounding out the top 5, HTI Danger in the 78 Mustang. Even with the late pit stop for him, he manages to hold on to a top 5, and he will come across the line. Tensai Tiga will come out of turn 14 for the final time tonight as well and take P6. The 34 Nissan of Succa 509 will exit turn 14 and come across the line scored in 17th. And Bila Grill will hold on for P7 here. And Kickin' Joe Mama will find his way into the top 10 and finish in 9th here, it looks like. And Koma Copa will finish in 10th. After starting very far back in the grid, Kickin' Joe Mama finds his way inside the top 10 here for the race finish. Just like that, the final cars are coming across the line here in the Hungarian ring. And Bongit will be the last one across the line. And it looks like Snakebite will take the fast lap of the race here. So 26 laps in total for tonight's race. The gap just over 1 second from Chugalug to Bubble and Panda. Oil Slick rounding out the top 3. It's Finley and HTI Danger for the top 5. Then the DNFs, Maxi Luca after the early retirement due to the connectivity issues, CCW Aviator, and it looks like Azteca with a late retirement as well. And the last car running across the line, Cool Whip, scored in 19th, so 3 DNFs in total. Just like that, round 3 comes to a close. The Hungarian ring is in the books. Next Tuesday, we are back in action for round number 4 from Snetterton. That should be an interesting one because that is a very, very small circuit. Very tight. But thank you everyone who joined, and thank you to Corby for the resub, Link for hanging out as well, and JC for the raid. With that, make sure you hit the follow button, and make sure you follow me on all social media, available on all the major platforms, updates regularly there. With that, have yourselves a great rest of your evening, and I will see you next week. Stay safe, everybody, and we'll see if we can find someone to raid.